Hi, and welcome to the weekly general reading for Monday, January 25th. Now, if it's not Monday, January 25th, that's okay. You can still watch this and get something out of it. We're talking about the next 7 days, okay? So this is a timeless reading, all right, guys? We're looking at the next 7 days. We're going to be looking at different dynamics, themes, motifs, positives and negatives of the week. And we're going to be hopefully making some predictions, okay? It just gives you a kind of an overview of what to expect in the next 7 days. Before I begin, there are 2 things that I'd like to address. The first one is I really want to thank the anonymous viewer who purchased the Urban Tarot from the MomentsAre wish list. I really appreciate this, and I hope to do some kind of flip through of some kind with this deck. This deck is very it's very vivid and some of the cards I think might be a little bit difficult to look at, so I'm just kind of thinking about how I'm going to do that, but I will do something with the deck to show it off to the channel, and of course I'll be using it on the channel. Now also I wanted to address the fact that I had some medical issues come up. It had to do with my shoulder froze up on, I think it was Wednesday. It was like the late Wednesday, early Thursday. And what happened was that I was unable to get the videos done that I would have wanted to get done, not because I was too tired or I was on meds or anything like that, but it was simply because I didn't have the range of motion to be moving my arms around. Because, I mean, when I say the shoulder froze up, I mean, like, I had hardly any range of motion. Now, I hate wasting you guys' time, but I did want to say thank you guys so much for those of you who responded to the post, and, encouraging me to just get better and not worry about it and all of that. It's easier said than done, though, because I was worried about it. I want to be here for you guys every day that I say I'm going to be, and so I was personally really crushed because I really wanted to do this, but it just kind of reminded me that I need to slow down, and I also need to remember to plan for things like that as well. Okay, so I'm going to help you guys out by planning for things like that and hopefully getting more videos up even when I'm not feeling so well. But on the other hand, do understand that that's going on. It might flare up again. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, I'll leave a post on the community tab. For those of you who didn't see that post, you can always look at that at the community tab, okay? And that said, I'm almost ready to point out the piles. I do want to mention that I really appreciate all of your support, all of your comments, all of this wonderful community that we're building here. And I just want to let you guys know, and I'm going to say more about that in the news at the end, but just that I am really focused on building a community where people can interact with one another, where you guys can interact with me more. I'm talking about like live streams. I'm talking about behind the scenes stuff. I'm talking about things like that. Okay. So I'm working on building something like that through this channel. But as far as how I'm going to roll that out, it's going to have to be a little bit at a time, of course. I can't do everything that I want to do all at once. But just know that that's coming. That said, let's go ahead and get to the piles, okay? Pile number 1 is the purple butterfly. Pile number 2 is the red butterfly. Pile number 3 is the green butterfly. Pile number 4 is the pink butterfly. Pile number 5 is the white butterfly. And pile number 6 is the blue butterfly. So if you have not picked the pile yet, go ahead and pause the video. Otherwise, we are going to start with pile number 1. Hi, those of you who picked pile number 1, the purple butterfly, here is your reading. Okay, so we have the King of Cups, the Star, and just so I keep my minor arcana together, we also have the 3 of Coins. Okay, so the first card is the Whip and Broom, followed by the Snake. Okay, interestingly, your advice card is Truth Be Told, and we have Spiritual Strength coming up. Okay, so you're going to have a little bit of everything this week when it comes to different areas of your life. Okay, so on the one hand, it's going to be spread out in a manageable degree. It's going to feel like a manageable week. There might be some major things happening with you feeling a little vulnerable, okay? But I feel like this is a small thing, but it's just, as far as the amount of time you're going to be feeling in that vulnerable position, it's probably going to be like maybe 1 to 5 minutes at most. However, it's the internal reflection of that vulnerable moment that is going to be sticking with you. Okay, so understand that when you feel vulnerable this week, that's the moment I'm talking about, and then be aware that there's some kind of need for reflection. When we feel vulnerable, it gives us information about ourselves. It gives us information about what we're comfortable and what we're not comfortable with. It gives us information about areas that we might not be so willing to show the world and all of that. And so we can start getting in there and ask those whys, like, why do I feel this way? And why does this particular thing get me? And, so with some reflection, which, that's why this is a major arcana card, not a minor arcana card. With some reflection, you will be able to get those answers and grow as a person, grow spiritual in your spiritual strength, and right now is a very good time for lessons, especially lessons in mastery, because you're also going to have, you're going to be experiencing mastery of your emotions. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be emotional this week, but it just means that you will be proud of yourself for how you approach the way that you're reacting to things. You will find that you're not as reactionary and you're more responding than reacting, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel as volatile. It doesn't feel as immediate, okay? So I feel like you're going to be really proud of yourself for getting in this kind of King of Cups energy where you're both acknowledging your femininity and the emotions and when I'm saying that, I'm talking about feminine traits, okay? Not necessarily being a female or a male, okay? So you're acknowledging your femininity, your emotions, your connection to that intuitive area, the yielding, that kind of stuff, while also carrying with that masculine energy of being, wise about how that comes out, being wise about, the appropriate time and place for that and that kind of thing. And now I'm not necessarily saying that men are always going to do one thing and women are going to always do another thing. When I speak of femininity and masculinity, I'm talking about two oppositional forces that when they work together, like in the King of Cups or like in the Queen of Swords, okay, when they work together, you get a very balanced outlook. Since we're talking about cups, we're talking about balance in your emotions, okay? So that's why I'm saying that. You are going to get some recognition. This card can sometimes feel a little bit like look at me, give me some attention. You might feel like you need a little bit of attention, but I don't feel like that's going to be in the work environment. I feel like you might feel like maybe somebody's withdrawing from you or something, and you're going to want to you might feel a little needy is basically what I'm trying to say. That's okay. You can reach out to them and be like, hey, look, I'm just feeling kind of lonely and I'd like to talk. Do you have 10 minutes? That kind of thing. And that's totally fine. It's okay to be needy. What's not okay, at least, and this is my own opinion, okay, what's not okay is when we feel that way and then we push it down because we don't want to expose it. Because then the more needy we feel later on, the more frantic we feel inside, okay? So this is a time where you can express that. And again, typically the Three of Coins has to do with work, being recognized in the work environment. I feel like you're going to want recognition, and that might be in a working or a vocational area like school, But most likely it's going to be in a different setting because I'm just feeling, and that's just a straight up intuitive interpretation of this card. Okay. The spiritual strength, I think it goes beyond just this reflection and this feeling of being balanced. I feel like there's maybe you will be experiencing some kind of sign or experience from whatever you want to call it, the universe, science, God, spirit. You're going to be feeling connected to that aspect of reality. And you're going to find that you grow more strong in your belief, even if your belief is unbelief. Okay, so understand, I'm not necessarily. I'm really trying to say this encompasses everything. Okay, all walks of life. So kind of keep that in mind. Let's go to the Lenormand, because it's very different from the rest of these cards, and this one's real easy. So yeah, we've got the Whip and Broom. Sometimes this can represent having a lot of arguments. That's not the case here. Intuitively, what I'm getting is that for this group, you're going to find that you're going to be having to do something over and over and over again in order to deal with a difficult person. Okay, now the difficult person is probably going to be female based on this card, but that doesn't mean that it's definitely going to be female. Okay, just for most of you, it will be. And for most of you, this person's like, there's an element of jealousy that comes with this person. And it's one of those things where it's like you find yourself needing to tell this person the same thing over and over again, or you need to do something to deal with this person the same way over and over again. Like, for example, saying like, I told you not to call past aid, or doing something like, no, I'm really not interested in you, in having a relationship with you, or something like that. Okay, I'm pretending. I'm not saying this is what it's going to be, but you will now here's what I want to impart on you. This is the important part of this message, is that a lot of people find that when they're dealing with a difficult person and they find that they have to repeat themselves, they kind of give up. They're kind of like, well, they didn't listen to me the first time, so it's no use, right? The lesson is actually in the repetition. It's supposed to be something you do a few times so that you learn that people can get you. Sometimes you do have to repeat yourself, and you do have to experiment saying things or doing things in different ways for that person to understand what you mean. A case in point, one time someone told me that they wouldn't be able to talk to me for the foreseeable future. Now for me, that was like, okay, I know this person's attention span and the way they plan is about maybe 2 weeks into the future. So I figured, in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to get a hold of this person. So I got a hold of them in around that time. And they're like, oh, no, I meant I need a lot of time. So that's what I mean, all this person needed to do was explain to me that, that wording that they used, while I interpreted it the way that I did, what this person meant was a longer period of time, and everything was resolved. That's the exact same thing with this experience, is that, yes, this person might be difficult, and yes, you might find yourself having to repeat yourself or do something over and over again. And if you don't want to, don't do it. Seriously. What I am saying, though, is that you will find yourself pleasantly surprised if you do decide to repeat yourself or continue to do that, because you'll find a way to connect with that person that you didn't know was possible, basically. Okay? So, truth be told, have you been keeping something from someone? Have you been in a situation recently where you've maybe bent the truth a little bit, or maybe you have leaned more on your own understanding of things rather than leaning on what concrete reality says, for example? Please, because I know I'm dealing with an audience that is very intuitive, I'm not saying relying on your intuition versus reality. I'm saying relying on fantasy versus reality. There's very, very different, components. So the truth be told is basically saying it would be more prudent to come forward and explain that you might have, maybe exaggerated. You might have said something that you realized wasn't fully true, or that maybe you were embarrassed, so you said something. Right now's the time to come clean, because if it comes out and it's not from you, that could put whatever situation this has been in, whether it's work or a one-on-one relationship or whatever, that can put that in danger, okay? Another thing that this is saying, is kind of a dual thing. This is going to be for some of you, not all of you. A lot of people are going to be very, very honest with you this week. So if you find yourself a little like, ooh, owie, that hurt, why did you say that? It's just because people are feeling very, at least the people around you are feeling very in line with the truth right now. So understand, sometimes when we face truths, we have this tendency to want to look away. And it's weird. I'm not quite certain. I can't really explain it without going on to a hour monologue about it. But what I can say about it is that when this happens, one thing that's great, just like with the invulnerability, is that if we look at that and we examine, well, why is this truth upsetting me? Then we can learn things about ourselves, right? So so that's what I meant when I said it looks like you're going to have some learning experiences this week. Overall, it feels pretty easy. I'm not seeing anything big happening that's negative or anything like that. This comes through as just being kind of annoying. It doesn't really come through as being terrible, okay? And there's nothing about this that feels like, there's nothing that just feels yucky. It just feels like a very good week. I mean, comparatively, so enjoy your week, regardless of what the card says. I hope you have a great one. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this reading. All right, guys, thank you. Okay, those of you who picked the red butterfly, hi, how are you guys doing? Well, looks like this is going to be a very big week for relationships. Look at that. We've got the Two of Cups, the Knight of Wands, and the Ace of Swords. Okay, so these relationships are going to be mostly involving the connecting with people on an intellectual level, on a new way of connecting intellectually, okay? So this would look like somebody that you're connecting with who thinks a lot the way that you do, or somebody who you're connecting with who's opening you up to new ideas, okay? Or connecting with somebody who who you're bringing new ideas to them, okay? So this is intellectual connection. That doesn't mean that the cups aren't there, though. The cups do reflect that emotional level, too. It's just that the intellectual area is where that connection's happening, okay? So we also have the boat and the dog. Okay, the dog does speak of friendships, so that's also an important part of this. We have building blocks, okay? And then we have material and spiritual prosperity. Okay, so let's just go ahead and deal with this one first, just because it's not as congruent as the rest of them. When we're talking about material and spiritual prosperity, we're not just talking about the physical world. We're also talking about the non-physical world. And for as an example, the physical world is a literal heart, okay, and the non-physical world is someone's love, okay? So that's what I mean when I say material and spiritual, because we're talking about both the material component of what that is, which is really the area of the brain that, the amygdala and the limbic system. But I don't want I'm not here to flex my brain. I'm just basically saying we're talking not just about the material, but also in the spiritual. So you'll find that saying, as in heaven, on earth, or there's one that so above is below, that kind of thing. I'm sorry, I'm really not very good with my religious texts when it comes to these kinds of ideas, because I look at it in a completely different way through Druidry. But what I'm trying to say here is that you'll find that the divine and the real, for lack of a better word, are going to be in meeting this week for you. So what does that mean? That means this would be the time to pray. This would be the time to appeal to a higher power, even if that higher power is within yourself, your higher self, your ability to grow. This would mean that if you learn a word, you might start seeing it appearing everywhere, okay? Because you'll find that your internal reality is reflective of your external reality. Your emotional area is reflective of your intellectual area. Just everything is kind of reflecting back on itself, and it's a very literal thing too, okay? So when we also take that and we add prosperity to that, we're talking about you guys are going to be reflective, And you guys are going to be in situations where you're going to be able to unify your understanding of things, because you'll be able to understand them both on a concrete and on an abstract level. Okay, so this is good. Now would be the time, if you've been having difficulty with your heart and your head matching, now would be the time to start trying to do that, because this is a good time to unify that. Okay, so back to this, very auspicious for relationships, very good for relationships, okay? Your relationships you're going to find are going to be easy. You're very easily communicating. You guys are on the same page, all right? The Knight of Wands does show a little instability when it comes to passions, though, okay? And the way that I interpret this within a relationship tends to be something that's along the lines of either silly little arguments or, areas where you're being kind of witty, areas where you're being playful, and sometimes areas where both of you are being creative. And I've seen this in couples that, for example, play music together and things like that. That's what this energy is about. It's about passion, but it's also about kind of, it can be playful, but it can also be a little combative as well. It's basically that fiery. It's fiery, okay? And so that fiery thing's going to be there, but the foundation of the relationship is going to be on this emotional connection and this intellectual connection. And regardless, you are going to be stumbling upon new ideas this week, okay? Whether it's from your relationships, and I mean relationships in all degrees, family members, friends, romantic partners, all of that kind of stuff. Or if it's just on your own, you will be getting new ideas this week, okay? So here we go. We have this kind of longing for a friend. That's what I feel like. Or we've got a friend that is a long distance friend that maybe you haven't heard of. Now I'm going to fill in the blank here, which is something I don't tend to like to do when it comes to Lenormand. But because intuitively this is what it feels like. It feels like that longing for a friend has finally reached a positive place. Okay. If it wasn't, then you would be like, there's a friend you long for, right? And that would be like, oh, you're going to be missing someone. But because the boat comes first, there's that longing for the friend, but it ends with the friend. I feel like somebody's going to reach out to you. Maybe somebody who's a long distance relationship, maybe a relationship with somebody who is in who lives very far away from you will grow stronger. Or maybe this is just showing that you're longing for something that comes in the form of a person, companionship and all of that, and you'll find it, okay? This doesn't necessarily mean you've got to leap for joy because everything's going to be perfect. I'm just saying that that a relationship, a new relationship, or a relationship that you already have with somebody who's in this area, like somebody who's either a long distance relationship or somebody you've been missing, is going to start growing, okay? There's one other way of interpreting this. I don't actually feel this is going to be the accurate way for most of you, but I do want to mention it because I feel like it would be almost like malpractice not to. Sometimes this talks about international relations. So this could be a friend or somebody who deals with things on an international level, okay? Or somebody who, travels a lot, that kind of thing. So I do want to mention that, but it's still the same message that this friend, it's going to end on the friend. It's going to end on this person being there for you, okay? Alrighty. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do the building blocks. Okay, so the building blocks is kind of relating to the material and spiritual prosperity as well as these two cards. And that you're going to find that you're building, because whenever we see something new, we're able to build upon it, right? So this is kind of like the foundation. This relationship is a foundation. These new ideas are the foundation. This prosperity is a foundation that you will find that you are going to build on top of. So this is the predictive quality of this reading, is saying that whatever you're going to be learning, whatever you're going to be prosperous in, whatever kind of relationships you're going to feel are being brought closer together, you're going to build on that, and it's going to get even better over the next weeks, okay? So the building blocks just lets us know that this is the beginning of more, not the end where you finally get what you want. You know, you're still going to get more and more and more out of these different situations. So I think that's great. Zero things that are negative in this, nothing negative. It looks like you're going to have a very easy week, you know, unless you're a little uncomfortable with fiery and passionate kind of energy. That might feel a little awkward, but I mean, really, that's a stretch. I'm just stretching to try to find something. All right. Regardless of what the cards say, I hope you have a wonderful week. If you like this reading, don't be afraid to subscribe or like, leave a comment, you know, do whatever. Just thank you for watching. Okay, those of you who picked the green butterfly, here's your reading. All right, I just want to let you know that this looks like it's going to be a little bit of a difficult week, okay? But there's one thing about this. I'm just looking at these cards. There's one thing about this. It is a positive thing. We just have to get to it, okay? So yeah, we've got the Ten of Swords. We have the Empress, okay? And we also have the Eight of Cups. I want to put these two together, not just because they're minor arcana, but because they're related. We also have the Book and the Cross, okay? We have Clean It Up. And then, and this is the part where I would rather you guys focus on, but you're going to have to go through all of this to get there. We also have Triumph, okay? And just so you know, this is a non-traditional tarot deck, and so I'm going to read it that way. But for those of you who are wondering, this would be the equivalent of the Chariot, okay? Moving forward, okay? All right, so I want to start here because it makes the story of these cards a little bit making more sense, okay? So somebody's going to reveal something to you. You're going to get some knowledge, or it might be that somebody's secret is going to come out. It might even be your own secret, okay? But most likely it's going to deal with somebody else, and it's going to be something that you're going to have to carry, and it doesn't feel right, okay? It's just like, it feels like a burden, the way that a cross would be a burden, okay? It feels like whatever it is that you are having to, I guess I want to say endure, whatever it is going to be something that is going to be very tiresome for you, okay? It could be that you are keeping something from someone, and because of that, you're feeling very burdened with things. But I don't think that's going to apply to most of you. For most of you, it's going to be somebody else's secret, some knowledge that comes from somewhere else that's going to, for lack of a better way of putting it, it just puts some marsh in your mellow. It just makes you feel yucky, okay? And because of this Clean It Up card comes up saying, you know, there's going to be a mess this week. You're going to have to work to kind of get it all taken care of. And these cards let you know how you're going to do that. One way is by walking away emotionally from something that you know is too big for you. This week is not the week to really confront and explore those really stressful emotions. I feel like this week is the time to put some distance between yourself and whatever this is, whatever is giving you negative, giving you these feelings that are more of the negative, you know, the burdensome, the more areas where you're feeling emotionally drained and physically drained and that kind of thing. These are some emotions that it's like you've got to get some distance from it before you can really process them. Okay, I'm not saying that you're not going to process them. I'm just saying that this week is going to be a time for distancing. An example of this, and this is an extreme example, but it's just a good way of explaining it, is if a person, you know, when a family member dies, especially if it's from a nuclear family, okay, what you'll notice is that the people, they tend to keep it together pretty well until the funeral. And then it's after the funeral that they start actually processing the emotions associated with the grief. The reason why I am speaking about this is that The reason people do that is because they have to distance themselves from that emotion before they process it and just get the things done that need to get done. Like, going through the burial process and trying to figure out what's in the legal aspects of it and all of that kind of stuff, It's going to be a similar kind of thing with the people who pick this pile. It's going to be like, you need to distance yourself from a very negative emotion so that then you can process it. You'll start processing it this week, I think, but it's not going to be until next week that you're really at a stable enough place that you can process it and actually get somewhere positive there. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Everybody has this stuff going on, okay? At different areas of their lives. This is a normal human experience, okay? If it wasn't, there wouldn't be a tarot card to represent it. All right, guys? Other people have been where you are, or where you might be, and understand it's just part of life. We can deal with this, all right? So when we talk about the Ten of Swords, especially when we have this context here of the book and the cross, it really does feel like some kind of possible betrayal, or a thing where it feels like it's a people-pleasing thing that I've seen in people where they're trying to help people so much, but maybe that person doesn't really get that they're being helped, or doesn't appreciate it, or doesn't realize that the person who's trying to help is kind of going out of their way and that kind of stuff. And it just leaves you feeling like this, like, wow, you didn't even appreciate that. And somehow this worked against me. Like, maybe you end up feeling taken advantage of. That's a situation that can lead to this kind of energy that I'm feeling from this card. This card puts out different energy based on the different contexts of the other cards. But in this case, I feel like it's more like a betrayal of some kind of unspoken thing, though. So when I say betrayal, I'm not saying that you and your husband or wife, or you and your spouse have made an agreement not to cheat on one another, and then one of you cheats and then you feel betrayed. No, because that's agreed upon. You're aware of that. This would be something that's unspoken. Like, well, it's just an unspoken thing that my spouse isn't going to tell, everybody in their office that I drool when I sleep, right? It's that kind of betrayal. I understand that was a silly explanation, but I took it from a TV show. But anyway, it's like that. You're going to feel betrayed. It's probably in connection to whatever this emotional thing is, just because these things kind of come in clusters. But that doesn't mean it has to be, okay? It could be something completely different. One thing about this, though, is that you're just not going to know what to think. That's what gives me the biggest impression. It's like, I don't even know what to think about this. And then this is all like, I can't even process this right now. The good news is that there will be some aspect of this week that will be extremely nurturing to you. Either you'll have a friend, or a partner, or maybe a family member, someone or something, because it could be coming from, an object, or, or even going through a task or whatever. Something's going to nurture you during this time. You are going to still feel abundance, even though this stuff is happening. And I almost feel like this is kind of a, count your blessings type energy. Like, well, this stuff's going on, but at least and then fill in the blank with whatever it is that gives you that security, because you're going to still be able to feel secure. You're going to be able to still, be normal, basically. It's just that this stuff's going to have you down, and you're going to have to clean it up, like this card says. The good news, and one thing that I would actually tell you to take out of this, is that you're going to be very successful in moving past this. You are going to be able to come up with an idea, come up with a plan by the end of the week too, okay? And you are going to be able to move forward to a better place. This doesn't mean that you have to leave whatever relationship this is. Maybe that's the wisest choice. I don't know. You're going to figure it out, though. And you're going to be able to figure out how not to feel this way, like you have to walk away from your emotions or distance yourself from it, feel like you're not feeling betrayed and that kind of stuff. You're going to be able to get there. But to every single one of you guys that pick this pile is going to find your own authentic way to get there. All I can say is that if there, think about cleaning it up. What do you have to clean? What do you have to, and what feels like a chore? okay, in this situation, because whatever it is that feels like a chore to do, something you don't really want to do, but you have to, that's going to be the key to this triumph, okay? It's like you're going to be able, and you will be able to go through those motions and emerge a lot better, okay? And hopefully next week will be better. And you know what? Regardless of what these cards say, I hope you have a great week, This doesn't mean that you can't have a great week. It just means these are the things that will most likely be what you're dealing with. Thank you so much for watching this video. Always, you can like or subscribe. That's great. Comment. I always love adding to the community. Or don't. Just whatever you feel like doing. Okay, guys. I just hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Hi, those of you who picked the pink butterfly, here is your reading. Okay. All right. So we've got Justice here. I'm going to put this over here. We have the 10 of coins. And we have the 7 of wands here. Okay, we have the park and the mice. We have why. Oh, interesting. And then we have memories of love. Now this is a little bit of a different kind of take on the 6 of cups. Okay. But we're going to be reading it the way that this non-traditional deck presents it, okay? But I do want to mention this is the 6 of Cups, okay? So when we're talking about memories of love, we're not necessarily talking about grief. We're talking about fond childhood memories, that kind of stuff, okay? So yeah, starting here, we've got the 7 of wands, and sometimes I get a defensive feeling about this. No, that's not what I get from this. I get you are prepared. You are almost more than prepared, okay? There might be like 1 or 2 things you look over, but you're prepared for this week. Whatever you're going to face this week, you've totally got it. You're going to breeze through it. We have the 10 of Pentacles, which, it does talk about material prosperity and that kind of stuff, but I actually feel like this is going to be that you're going to make a big impression in some kind of vocational way. This would be perhaps at work, as if you're a student, that you're just going to be doing a really good job, or maybe one of your hobbies. I understand that people of all ages are watching this, If you're retired, and maybe you volunteer or do some other things, this would be, in your volunteer work, it's just going to be, you're going to get some kind of reward, or you're going to enjoy some kind of positivity that's excessive. It's a little bit more than you'd be, like more than what you'd expect from your efforts, okay? With Justice coming in here, we've got a nice blend between the head and the heart here, okay? That's one way that I like to look at Justice, but another thing about Justice is that I feel like your relationships are going to feel real smooth, because there's this idea of fairness in Justice and in this card. And I feel like you're going to feel like things are fair between you and the people you're around. Okay. So even if you find yourself being maybe honored in some way, you're still going to feel like it's fair. Like that's right. That's an okay thing to do. So, it's just, you're not going to feel above or below someone. You're just going to feel like you're on the same page and that kind of stuff. With this memories of love thing, this can indicate somebody coming back from your past. You might connect to somebody from your past this week. It could also be that you are going to be feeling more buoyant the way that you felt when you were a child. Now, I want to acknowledge every child does not feel buoyant when they're young, okay? I want to mention that, okay? I understand. I mean, if you want to look at the least buoyant time of life, at least according to some people, you might want to look at adolescence, right? But these memories of love are memories of positive love from previous experiences, okay? So we're talking about love is the buoyancy, and the fact that it's past, it's like you're not yearning for it. It's not a sentimental type of feeling. It's more like you're enjoying the fact that you have that inside of you. And because you have that inside of you, you're just going to be made aware that you have that, basically, and that you can experience the same buoyancy you experienced when you were less experienced, when you were younger. And of course, I mean, everybody knows, when one falls in love, for real, it makes so much of an impression the first time it happens. I understand maybe some of you will be saying, well, I haven't had that happen. We're talking about connection, okay? We're talking about friendship. We're talking about something like that, okay? But the first time it happens, it is almost like discovering the secret to the universe, right? And that's what I mean by the buoyancy. It's going to feel very new and very good. So there's going to be this emotional tone to your week also that's going to be really energizing you. Why? Make sure that you're looking at the motives behind what people are doing around you. And more importantly, because of what the Lenormand says, make sure you're also aware of your own motivations. Just understand that, now I'm not saying that you have to be you have to suddenly get a PhD in philosophy and join the likes of Socrates and Plato. No, I'm just saying that when it comes to, just kind of investigate a little bit why you do the things that you do, why other people do the things that you do, that they do, and know that that's going to lead to some wisdom there, okay? So we've got the garden, okay, which typically shows publics. We're talking about the public. We're talking about the outside world. We're talking about the extroverted world for those of you who are introverted. And then we're talking, and then after we see the public, then we're saying, ooh, something's being taken away from the public and being put somewhere else. Okay, that somewhere else is going to be different for all of you. But what is going to be the same for all of you is that you're not going to be able to spend as much time in public. There are so many reasons why that might happen, especially at this time, given that we're still going through the pandemic and all of that kind of stuff. But just know that something's going to take away from maybe your social time or going out or something like that. But that's okay. I don't feel like whatever is being taken away from here is going to be made up in some way. Okay. So for example, if this is literally, you're just not going to be as social this week, then it's like, it's time for you to spend some time, alone or with yourself or, maybe reflecting on something. Okay. It feels appropriate. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. And remember this connection, this very positive feeling is going to be carrying you through the week. So I don't feel like you're going to even have a problem with this if you're more of a social type or if you're a person who really values, going out and that kind of stuff. All right, guys? Okay, so regardless of what the cards say, I hope that you have a wonderful week. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, you could like or subscribe or comment or whatever you want. And I just want to say thank you for watching. All right, those of you who picked the white butterfly, here's your reading. Okay, so we have the King of Pentacles, we have the Page of Swords, and we have the Eight of Wands. We have the Bear and the Clover. We have the Fates, and we have the Shadow. Okay, I wasn't expecting something this, I guess, deep. So just give me a moment here. Okay. All right. Just to be clear, this is a Major Arcana card. This is a non-traditional deck. But in this non-traditional deck, this would be the moon, okay? So when we're talking about the shadow, we're talking about what happens in the darkness, okay? But because this is a non-traditional deck, we are going to read it non-traditionally, okay? But I just wanted to make sure you guys were informed of where this comes from. Let's go ahead and start here. You're going to find yourself exerting energy towards completing tasks, getting things done. You're going to be in a very okay, I have this list of things to do and I'm going to do them, because it feels like maybe you've procrastinated, or maybe there are things to get done that are particularly pressing. Okay. With the Page of Swords, you might notice that communication's a little awkward. Don't worry about it. And here's why I say not to worry about it, because I don't see it affecting anything that would be detrimental. It's just kind of giving you a warning, just so you might, say something in an awkward way, but don't worry about it. People aren't going to be all sensitive about it. People will get it. People will understand when you kind of communicate in a weird way that what you really mean. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. Everybody's got their quirks. With this Eight of Wands, it kind of makes this King of Pentacles card of getting things done, accomplishing things, and all of that. It kind of makes it a little bit more urgent. So again, it really feels like not only you're getting things done, but you're getting a lot of things done and you're doing it quickly. That isn't to say that you're not being thorough. It just means that you're getting these things done quickly. So a really good thing to say about this week is that you are going to really be productive this week, and it's going to almost be an automation for you. You're going to be feeling like, okay, well, I can get these things done. I have the energy, I have the motivation and all of that. I'm just going to do it. That kind of thing. Okay. So with the shadow work here, what I feel is going to happen is that because you're so anchored in reality during your waking time, you're going to find that maybe your dreams are a little bit more vivid. And some of the things that come up around the time that you're about to go to sleep and during the time that you're sleeping might be a little bit darker than usual. But just understand that dreams exaggerate, and whatever the dreams are presenting to you, whether it's positive or negative, what is presenting to you are the things that you're not focusing on in waking life. And that those are things that you still need to address. It's just whatever you're doing right now that takes precedent. That's your priority. But just know that you're also doing some work with some of the things that you're not putting as much attention to, and that you're eventually going to also have to deal with this. I'm not even feeling like this is going to be this week. It just feels like, and it doesn't feel like it's a task that requires a whole lot of stamina. It feels like it's a task that requires more reflection and more quietude. So kind of keep that in mind as well. Both of these cards, both of these are kind of interconnected, but let's start with the Bear and the Luck, or the Clover, which tends to mean luck. There's going to be a little happy accident happen, coincidence, synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. I'm not saying that it, just because it's coincidental doesn't mean that it necessarily has meaning, but you need to assign the proper meaning of that for you based on what your belief system is and all of that. At the very least, something lucky is going to happen involving someone who might have seemed a little bit... I don't want to say a difficult person, because I don't feel like this person was difficult with you. I feel like the person was maybe almost an overbearing type person. Like there was something about them that overshadowed the whole relationship. But you're going to get lucky and you're going to be able to kind of connect with that person on some level. And that's going to feel really, really good. Like this card, the Fates, it's going to feel fated. It's going to feel like it's supposed to happen. Okay. So whatever surprises we have with a person in your life here, this would look like maybe somebody who hasn't talked to you in a while getting a hold of you. It could also mean maybe, the Bear is typically a mother-in-law card. It could be that your mother-in-law is going to, come to you and tell you what a great person you are. It can also represent a boss. It can also represent just somebody who might have an overbearing personality. It can represent so much, and what I'm getting is that for those of you who pick this pile, it's going to be a different person for each one of you. Chances are, whoever you thought of when I started talking about this first, that's going to be the person I'm talking about. And something lucky involving this person is going to happen. Okay? And whatever that is in your story is going to be what it is. So if in your story with this person is that they haven't talked to you in a while, they're going to talk to you. If your story in the situation is that they haven't given you attention in a while, they're going to give you attention, and on and on. with the fates, it's like this is also kind of reinforcing the timing is good right now for you, okay? That's probably why you're getting a lot done, because you have that energy to get things done. So the timing's right to get these, you know, to get these priorities just checked off your list. Also, the timing's right for whatever this is to manifest in your relationship with this person. And also the timing's right to experience the revealing of some of the things that you haven't been focusing on that might deserve focus in later weeks, through your dreams or as you're going to sleep. You know, some people, it's really as they're going to sleep that these things start popping up, because that's when their defenses are starting to go down. And when those thoughts that we've been kind of working to suppress, or those feelings, or whatever it is, you know, whatever it is we haven't been looking at, it, you know, decides to pop up and be like, oh, look at me, check it out, you know. So that's what I mean when I talk about this. It looks like it's going to be a very active week, but it doesn't it doesn't feel like it's a bad week. It just feels like it's going to be active, very productive. Okay. Might feel a little rushed, but I don't feel like that's going to compromise whatever the agenda is, okay? All right, guys. You know, regardless of what the cards say, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, and just know that I really appreciate you guys. All right, those of you who picked the blue butterfly, here is your reading. Okay, so we have the Hierophant. Okay, we have the 9 of Swords. We have the 5 of Cups. We have the Clouds, and the Child. We have Chaos and Conflict, and we have New Beginnings. How interesting is this? Okay, so yeah, all of these things are kind of interacting with one another, and they all are telling a coherent story. So that's great, because I see the story. What's not so great is that the story is not so happy, you know, this week. You know, before you panic, though, I mean, it's not that bad either. It's just, it's not great. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So yeah, you guys, this week's going to be a little bit difficult. You do have 2 major arcana cards. While this is a non-traditional tarot deck, this is the Fool in that deck, okay? And then we've got the Hierophant. We are going to be reading this in the non-traditional way, though, as New Beginnings. And then we've got 2 difficult cards, the 9 of Swords and the 5 of Wands. We also have another difficult card in the Lenormand, which is, we've got the Clouds, and that shows that there's been confusion, and I use that word "been" because it feels like this is something that's kind of overlapping from last week. Okay, so whatever confusion or negativity that kind of came out of last week might still be going on a little bit this week. And then we have Chaos and Conflict, which is pretty much what these 2 cards are talking about. And even what this is talking about, you're going to find this week that it's going to be difficult to connect with other people. It just feels like everybody's kind of like worked up a little bit. Almost like everybody you come across is going to feel a little stressed. You know, the best way to deal with that isn't necessarily to avoid people, but it's just to be aware that everybody's feeling sensitive around you this week, okay? And or at least that's the impression you're going to be getting, and that's the way they're going to be acting. Like they're a little bit insecure, they're a little bit it's like they're feeling just a little bit defensive even. It could be from your really strong energy of you're in a new space, and that's kind of raising your the way that you're carrying yourself, the way that you are, and they feel a little bit nervous about that. And that might be where it's coming from. But in general, it's just, there's gonna be a lot of opportunities to create conflict. Just be aware that you're gonna have to be very sensitive with the way that you speak. I actually don't feel like this is going to be that hard for you because I'm not getting anything that indicates that you would have problems with that, okay? So it's kind of like a walk on eggshells week when it comes to other people. As far as yourself goes, though, it seems like you are also very worried about something that has been really dominating your time. It just feels like this thing is just relentlessly pursuing you. It's almost like when you have something to worry about or an anxiety or something that's unknown. It's almost like you get it, but then it still keeps going, and it's like, well, I don't know how to I don't know how to deal with it. The answer to this, though, is that there isn't a way to deal with it, just to know that it's happening. And the sad thing about that is that when we face a situation that makes us feel less secure or makes us feel threatened, it is natural for us to catastrophize. It's natural for us to worry and all of that kind of stuff. All of that takes place in the mental space, though, and that's going to be created by your own perpetuation of it. Okay, I'm not saying that you're bringing this upon yourself, because I actually think there's a very real trigger to this, what this card is referring to. But it is on a level where it's almost like you might be overreacting to it. And I say might because I really feel like some of you, this is the appropriate response, like completely. All right. But just know you're going to be having some restless nights. You're going to feel antsy during the day too. You're going to find yourself worrying a lot. Don't worry about it so much. I mean, don't worry about the worry, don't worry that maybe it's excessive or whatever, because it does feel like it's going to be resolved by the end of the week. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. I want to just do the Hierophant first. This is a clear learning time for you, okay? There is something that you're learning, and it's like you've got to learn it by yourself. That people aren't going to be helping you so much this time, like at this point. And it's like you've got to get to a new place yourself in order to fully learn whatever it is that you're on task to learn, okay? What's great is whatever confusion you start the week out with, or whatever confusion that was going on last week, is going to result in some kind of new beginning. We've got the child, represents newness, it represents freshness, it represents a new perspective, sometimes even playfulness, that kind of stuff. And we have the new beginnings card, which lets us know there's going to be something new that's going to kind of save you from this place, okay? And by saving you, I mean it's going to be a place where you're going to get to a place where maybe you don't know what to think, but you know what to do. And knowing what to do, like what you can do, you start on your journey of getting to a place where you are feeling a lot better. And just by starting to do that, and you will do that this week, so something new is going to happen this week that you're going to be getting on board with. Just by starting it, you're going to start opening up a whole bunch of great stuff for you. In the meantime, the chaos and conflict is going to be the dominant feeling this week, okay? Just know that by, looking at the next 7 days, by day 5 and 6 and 7, you're going to start feeling a lot better. So there is that silver lining to all of this stuff. Also, I want to mention, the clouds. The clouds can be directional when we're talking about Lenormand, and typically, if we have a bigger spread, we've got a card here, and whatever is on the darker side of the clouds, that's what's causing the confusion or the cloudiness or the depression, even that kind of thing. What's on the light side of the clouds is how to resolve that confusion. So given that the child is on the light side of the clouds, and you guys might have noticed that I turned that over. I just want to kind of show that a little bit closer up so you know that I turned it over because it was upside down before, right? And I need to turn it up, right side up, so that number 6 would be there, okay? But because directionally this is the positive thing that brings you out of that, that's another reason why I say that. I just wanted to explain completely why I get what I get when I'm doing my readings, because it's important for you guys to know that I'm not just making it up, You know what, guys? It's not going to be the best week, but you are going to end the week a much better place than you are when you begin. Okay, guys? And regardless of what the cards say, I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope it at least helps you prepare for the week ahead. And if you did, go ahead and hit that like. You might want to subscribe. You might want to leave a comment, or don't. Just whatever you like, okay? All right. Just thank you for watching. All right, guys. So thanks for coming to the end of the video. I just wanted to kind of throw some things out because I've been having issues with my shoulder. I am not going to be taking as many readings this week as I normally do, but I am still open to readings. There's just a lower supply. Okay, so that means there are still some slots available, but they'll probably go more quick. So if you want to get a private reading with me this week, go ahead and order that as quickly as possible. All right, guys. Other than that, I have been working on a whole lot of different ways to grow the channel. And while I can't promise that any of this stuff is going to be rolling out next week, I can say that some of these things are going to be like behind the scenes videos. Like, for example, I might share what the metrics are telling me as far as which pile most people pick, you know, so that maybe you can get some insight onto, you know, what's going on, you know, with more of the collective, you know, because it's like, the more people who pick one pile over another one is going to show us what people on a broader scale are needing advice on right now, okay? We also might be doing some fun with like outtakes. We might be doing some fun with interviews, definitely some live streaming. I'm thinking about starting a Discord channel for the channel, just so that we can have some people that are like-minded, that like to talk about this stuff, to be there. And then maybe I could dedicate a certain amount of time each week or month to being present in that Discord channel so that I can chat with you guys just as a fun thing to do. You know, I'm really just looking at all different areas and all of that kind of stuff. Like I said before, we are also wanting to roll out a new website. And it's not published right now, but it exists. It's MomentsAre.com, but it's not published right now. So you wouldn't be able to see it if you were to go to that URL, but that will be the URL eventually. Got that merchandise store, of course. Just working on just a lot of things to really, you know, meet the needs of all of the things that you guys might want. Okay, I even have a deck that I've created. I finished the deck, but I haven't published it yet. I haven't designed the box yet, and I haven't really I haven't figured out which publisher I'm going to go with, but besides that, the deck's fine. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to sharing that. And probably the first way I'm going to share it is by having printing it and having just one deck that I show on the channel, so you guys can kind of familiarize yourself with it, and then I'll probably release it like the next month. So that will be coming. My goal for that is either May or June, though, so do understand it's going to be kind of a way away. You know, besides that, I can't really think of anything else other than I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being so supportive. Know that every single video that I can't post because I am maybe ill, or like what happened last week, my shoulder's thrown out and everything, that I'm just as upset as people who might be like, hey, where's her video? I want to do it, okay? I really do. It's just sometimes my body is like, nope, you have to rest this week. So just know I'm going to take care of myself, but I will keep you guys informed. If you want to look for where do I inform you guys, look for the community tab for this channel, and you'll find all of my posts there. Okay. So that's all I can think of. And again, thank you guys. Thank the person who went to the Amazon wish list for the channel and purchases for the channel. Everything on that list is something that we are going to be able to use for the channel. So anybody who is interested in helping the channel grow that way, that's a way to do it, you know. You don't have to, though, obviously. Do whatever you want. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you hopefully tomorrow.